Good. All right, my name is Fields Mosley. I'm the communications director here. This is Chairman Bill Gates, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors. And the Board of Supervisors, by statute and agreement with the recorder, they are in charge of Election Day operations. I think most of you know for town. That's probably helpful to know. So anyway, the chairman's been here all night. He's talked to a lot of you already, so I'll let him go ahead and take it away, and then we'll answer some questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Fields. Thanks to everyone for being here. And first of all, I just want to say thank you to the 3,000 temporary workers, all of our permanent workers, so many people who worked today to make this a very successful day. That we had a lot of stuff thrown at us, and these folks here did just an incredible job. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that, and I want to thank all the voters who came out today. Again, and dealt with some challenges. I want to start right off by saying, again, we apologize to those voters who were inconvenienced by some of the things that occurred today, but we feel very confident that every voter had the opportunity, who showed up with ID, every voter had the opportunity to vote and have their vote counted. So that is extremely important to all of us, that no one was disenfranchised today. Giving you a few numbers, we've had up to this point about 245,000 people who have voted in person, and we do have several locations out there where people were in line. The voters were in line at 7 p.m., so they're still waiting in line to vote. So that number will go even higher. We also have many people that dropped off their early ballots today at one of our vote centers. We don't have those figures at this point, but once we do, that's something that we will be in a position to report. But I want to set some expectations, and I want everyone to be patient this evening. As you know, everyone's been voting out in vote centers. Again, so those vote centers are still active. People are voting. The workers out in those vote centers will not be in a position to start to break down everything out there until the voting has been completed. And then those memory drives are going to be brought in by bipartisan groups in here. Okay? So as we have been announcing all week, we will have our first drop of ballots. The first vote tallies will be reported at approximately 8 p.m. Those are going to be early ballot reports. These are early ballots that we received as of Friday, everything we had received before last Friday. So there will be a significant number of votes that will be reported at that time. Then the next time you see numbers, those are going to be numbers of the votes that, again, these are people who went in to the vote centers today and voted via the tabulator. We don't have exact times on that, but maybe roughly, every hour and a half or so going through the evening and then into the early morning. So again, I want people to be prepared for that. Hopefully finishing up all of those, reporting all of the in-person votes today that people voted through one of these tabulators in the wee hours, 2 or 3 in the morning. Then tomorrow morning, we'll be doing a few things. First of all, we're going to get those ballots that are box number 3. And those ballots, we'll be looking at those, making sure there isn't any adjudication that needs to take place, and then we will begin tabulating those box 3 votes tomorrow morning. And then also, all of those ballots, the early ballots that have come in, certainly came in today. We will have Recorder Richard's team going through all of that signature verification and everything that needs to be done. Again, this is a team here, and that's how we operate as a team. We have some separate statutory responsibilities, but we have worked as an entire team. And even Eddie Cook, our county assessor, is here. So that's the way that we work here at Maricopa County. So again, as I've told some of you today, we anticipate about 95 to 99% of the ballots will be counted by this Friday. So again, we've asked for people's patience. People should not be expecting final results. There are still many, many ballots to be counted even after today. But we ask for everyone's patience in the process. We thank all of the campaigns up to this point for their professionalism. We assume that we're going to continue to see that through the next few days. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Yes?
Who's in charge of testing that equipment that had issues today?
Yeah, so testing of the equipment, again, this is the team here that does that with the ballot, with the printers. This is something that we tested. We did not these problems. We saw these same, we used all the same materials, the same sort of variables in the primary. We didn't have issues with them. Additionally, used these printers throughout early voting. So again, this was a surprise, but I have to give huge props to our tech team and to our poll workers who were able to identify the problem early in the afternoon, and by right before the polls closed, we had nearly every single vote location was back fully operational. So it was really amazing work that the team did, and again, we do apologize to those who have been inconvenienced today.
Supervisors or recorder's office, under which branch?
Yeah, so again, I mean, those ballot printers, those are used, they're actually used on both sides. They're used both in early voting and they're used for day of. So that's a joint responsibility. Yes?
Bill, when it comes to later on this week, are you expecting more lawsuits to be filed? There was one filed earlier today to try to keep some of the polling locations open longer. Do you expect more lawsuits?
Yeah, I don't know what will be done on that front. We certainly know that elections have become more litigious over the past few years. I would not be surprised to see any lawsuits. And if we see those lawsuits, we're certainly staffed up as a county to address those, to provide the courts with the information that they need. And I appreciate all the work that both the attorneys from the Maricopa County Attorney's Office provided in the lawsuit, the hearing that just ended, in addition to all the lawyers who participated. We at the Board of Supervisors and Recorder Richer, we've never had a problem with folks going to court to address concerns that they have. We've just always asked that once that process has completed, that everyone will respect the results and allow this democratic republic to continue to operate. Yes?
How many sites still have voters waiting in line? And then separately, there's a huge police presence out there. What are we expecting tonight?
Yeah, so I'm not sure on the exact number. I know we have a few, a handful, maybe a little bit more, maybe 2 handfuls of locations that still have people in line. Again, as long as they got in line at 7 p.m., they're going to have that opportunity to vote. Again, with respect to any presence that we do have outside, you know, this is some of the things that Sheriff Penzone has been discussing. Unfortunately, in 2020, we saw folks come here and get very close to the building, getting a little raucous and things like that. We just want to make sure that all the workers who are working so hard, frankly, all of you who are here, are protected from any efforts. We have no specific reasons to think that there'll be problems down here this evening, but we want to make sure that everything is protected, like Sheriff Penzone protect these votes like gold bars. Yes.
By the time the polls closed, were you guys able to fix the problems at all 60 voting centers that were impacted?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Do we have that? I believe so. I believe that that's accurate. I know that in the last hour or so we were down to just like 5, and I think all of those issues were cleared up. And I got to tell you, that was really a remarkable effort for folks. We had a lot of experts looking at this. People were puzzled trying to figure out what went on. But to get that fixed and then to give all of those people the opportunity through the tabulator, we were very excited to be able to do that.
We confirmed it's all.
Okay, we confirmed it was all of them.
And,
Yeah.
and sorry, to Rachel's question earlier, we can find out what the line situation is for you. You know, we have it on a big board back there.
Yeah, we can get that. I just don't have those all right.
Why don't we go to Sasha over here on this side?
Okay, great,
and,
yeah.
So we'll take her question and we'll keep moving around.
Hey, Ron.
Sasha.
I'm wondering if we have a count on the number of provisional ballots cast today, and then I'm curious about how that compares with previous elections and kind of what our expectations were for those provisional numbers. Essentially trying to get a sense early on, when I know it's hard to get a sense of how many people had to cast provisionals today, just because of these issues that we encountered.
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't have that number, but we can get the provisional number. But just because they're provisional numbers doesn't mean that they're all related, or even a majority are related to the issue with the tabulator. Could be ID, for example. They could have come without ID or other reasons, but we'll certainly get that number. Again, I was looking at that as the day went on. They were, again, what I would call historically low numbers, certainly compared to what we used to see before we went to the vote center model. But we'll get that number for you. Yes, sir.
Tonight, when will results be posted?
Yeah, so 8 p.m., that'll be our first results, and those are, again, going to be all the early ballots that we've received here and processed and counted through Friday of last week.
And roughly how many is that? Or how many have you received by Friday?
I'm not sure exactly exactly on that. I think over 800,000. Yes.
So can you give us a sense of whether or not the tabulation issues will create a longer time counting? Is that going to add to the amount of time it takes to make sure you have the numbers right?
Yeah, so really what it does is it kind of shifts, and again, we don't know how many ballots have been placed here in box number 3. But these, if all of those ballots would have gone through the tabulator, they would have all been counted. All the day of votes would have been counted by about 2 or 3 in the morning. For those down here in box number 3, those we will start with those tomorrow morning. So again, it won't move the total count, but whatever number we have here in box 3 will be more, probably reported like tomorrow or the following day, as opposed to all being reported either this evening or first thing tomorrow morning.
And just to
Yes.
follow up to that, the problems with the tabulators or the printers, is that going to delay the vote count or make it a longer process for you?
Yeah, it should. Again, it shouldn't. That we believe that that's not going to have an impact on the vote count. We believe that the ballots here out of box 3 are going to run through our central count tabulators. That is, we'll see it when it actually happens, but that's what we anticipate. Yes.
We have some big names behind, the 2020 election is stolen, saying that they're already en route to Arizona hopping on a plane. You have former President Donald Trump saying there's a lot of bad things going on in Maricopa County. One man outside just said there will be more of us later. Can you address these concerns and that some of these megaphone personalities are going to be headed here?
Again, look, we know that the eyeballs of the world were already on Maricopa County. We've known that for weeks. Obviously, we can see that from this room. So whoever wants to come here, that's fine. They have every right to be here. But again, there's nothing that happened here today that would indicate, in my opinion, a need to be out here, a need to address some injustice. Again, we had an issue with printers, which has been addressed by the good people of Maricopa County addressing it. So people want to come out here. If they want to stay in our hotels, I know our hotel industry would love that. But again, if they're going to come here to create disruptions, I think Sheriff Penzone has been very clear about it. They're welcome, but we would ask that they handle themselves in a professional, civil way. That's the way we handle things in Maricopa County. Problem is, we've had a lot of people from outside of Maricopa County trying to tell us how to handle things, trying to tell us how we run elections, and I think we know how to do that. I think people have shown incredible patience today, dealing with some challenges, but again, whoever wants to come, they can come.
So since it's printer issues, back in 2020, it led to a full audit with the cyber ninjas. Would printer issues lead to calls for audits?
Well, again, in 2020, there's nothing that happened that led to calls for audit. So I don't know what people are going to do. Again, this is an opportunity for me to speak to my Republican brethren, elected officials in this state. Again, if they want to try and challenge the voters of Maricopa County, what they've decided, if they want to challenge the election workers, that's fine. We'll take a look at everything here. People want to go to court, they can go to court. But we've got to get to a point where we have a finish line. When everything is done, it's done. We need people to acknowledge the results, and if there are changes in state law that legislators want to make based upon what they've seen, they have every right to do that. But pursuing extra legal audits like the so-called Cyber Ninja audit, in my opinion, does not move things forward, does not strengthen this democratic republic. But we will be open, my colleagues will be open, Recorder Richard obviously will be open to talk to any other leaders in the state about changes that they want to make.
Let's take 2 more questions. If anybody has them.
What
Maybe we
time
have some.
exactly did you figure out the issue and the problem, and how quickly did you then send a full team out? Like, what was your response? What that looked like?
It was about 1 minute.
Yeah. What's it, about 1 in the
About 1,
afternoon.
And did you just send a full team? Like, can you talk about how many people were put on this, how it worked, that kind of thing?
I don't have those numbers. We can get those numbers for you, but I can tell you this was a full court press from the team, from having our contractors involved, having experts, and again, this was really sort of challenging situation because none of the variables had changed from August. So I think people were scratching their heads, but we were able to figure it out, address it, and all the while, even while these things were going on, people were not denied the right to vote. People came with ID. They were allowed to come in. They were allowed to vote, and their votes will be counted. Either they were voted by the tabulator. Again, even these locations that had issues, we were still having intermittent use on one or both of the tabulators. But in the end, everyone's vote, everyone who voted today, it's going to be counted, and that's what really matters in the end.
And so the paperweight was the same for the primary?
The
or-
paperweight was the same as we had for the primary. That's right.
Yvonne?
Did you experience any of these issues at the locations that were open during early voting? Or is it solely isolated to today? Like, what is different
Yeah.
about those two situations?
Yeah. So we did not have these issues during early voting. Obviously, if we had, we would have dealt with it. This was a new issue that we saw today during our in-person voting. And again, the focus that our number one goal today was to figure out what's going on and fix it. Long term, you've been around for a long time. We're all about continuous improvement at Maricopa County. We're going to do a deep dive on this, figure out exactly what happened, root cause analysis, so that in the future, hopefully, this does not happen again.
We got one more question back here.
Sorry, one more. Thank you for doing this. There were some hints today, suggestions that perhaps there was a partisan skew in any delay here caused by the tabulation equipment issues. Do you know of any difference in partisan precincts where it was weighted toward conservative precincts or presumably conservative precincts or anything like that?
Yeah, I have not seen any analysis that shows how these breaks down. Frankly, we haven't had the time to sit there and do that analysis. Happy to do that after the fact. But the point was, we were having these issues coming up around Maricopa County, and so we had to address them. But again, look, this Board of Supervisors, 4 of 5 Republican, and Republican Stephen Richards are recorders. So there was no partisan bias in what happened here. This was a technical issue that we determined had to do with the printer and not having the toner strong enough so that those timing marks would show up and that the tabulator could do that. Not a partisan issue, a technical issue.
All right.
All right, thanks so much. Appreciate it.